In early 1965, India's borders looked quiet. But beneath that surface calm, the country was still processing the lingering wounds of a border conflict with China 3 years earlier. The military was stretched, and the national psyche remained vulnerable. In intelligence work, there is a constant struggle to separate meaningful signals from random noise. When minor skirmishes broke out in the Rann of Kutch, a salt marsh on the western border, defense officials filed them away as standard friction, just noise. But then strange records reached Delhi. Villagers in Kashmir were spotting unfamiliar faces. Border patrols noted unexplained movements along high mountain paths in the dead of night. Because the military was focused elsewhere, these precise warning signs were dismissed as more noise. That miscalculation created a massive intelligence blind spot, leaving the frontier exposed. Those strange nighttime movements were actually the vanguard of a highly coordinated military action, Operation Gibraltar. Thousands of trained operatives were slipping across the ceasefire line. To avoid detection, they stripped off their military uniforms and traveled in local civilian clothing, moving swiftly through the dense forested passes. Their objective was to bypass conventional defenses, incite internal rebellion, sabotage infrastructure, and destabilize Kashmir from the inside. In the capital, the realization set in that their conventional divisions were blind to an enemy that looked exactly like the civilian population they were meant to protect. If these operatives succeeded in severing Kashmir from the rest of the country, the resulting political and military shockwaves threatened a cascading collapse across multiple fronts. Conventional firepower was ill-suited for this struggle. To stop an invisible enemy, India had to counter with a clandestine form of warfare. Delhi authorized an emergency, classified border intelligence operation. The mission was to actively hunt down the infiltrators network. Operatives left their uniforms behind. They embedded themselves in rural villages to listen to local reports, and they conducted silent night patrols, tracking shadows through the mountains without firing a single shot. This map shows how scattered local rumors were synthesized. By mapping every confirmed sighting, intelligence officers traced a distinct line, revealing a structured enemy supply chain. That line pointed directly to the Haji Pir Pass. Severing this narrow choke point would cut off the enemy's reinforcements. By converting raw field intelligence into precise geographic coordinates, the Shadow Network gave the Indian Army the target it needed to strike back. Reaching Haji Pir required a brutal upward ascent. Soldiers had to inch their way over jagged, wet rocks, completely enveloped in freezing mountain fog. Any noise would echo against the peaks and alert entrenched enemy lookouts. The climb had to be executed in absolute silence. The stealth approach worked. Indian forces captured Haji Pir, effectively snapping the spine of the covert infiltration network in a matter of hours. But the relief was short-lived. In direct response, Pakistan launched Operation Grand Slam, a heavy armor assault targeting the vital town of Akhnor. Akhnor was the critical bridge. If that town fell, the Indian supply route into Kashmir would be permanently severed. The Border Intelligence Network instantly pivoted. Instead of tracking foot trails, they began feeding commanders hourly updates on enemy tank movements and sabotage squads. Armed with this granular, continuous data, Indian generals executed high-stakes countermaneuvers to outflank the advancing armor. The military's ability to absorb this conventional shock relied heavily on the continuous flow of field intelligence that kept the supply lines open. Those data-driven countermoves held the line. The Akhnor lifeline was secured, and the feared national collapse was prevented. While archival footage preserves the roar of tank battles and artillery, a silent network of signals and reports determined exactly where those guns needed to point. This conflict demonstrated that a quiet frontier often masks a buildup of ignored signals, a strategic illusion that can precede a total collapse. Battles are frequently decided by the precise flow of information, days or weeks before the first physical shot is fired. The legacy of 1965 includes the unnamed operatives who tracked shadows in the dark, showing that history is frequently shaped by those who work in total silence.